Normally there are.
Good evening. My name is Jim Ostrowski. I'm the real estate manager for Meijer. My office address is 855 South Randall Road in St. Charles. Jim Ostrowski, O-S-T-R.
O-S-T-R.
O-W.
O-W.
S-K-I.
S-K-I. And
Real estate manager for Meijer.
Okay, I don't know if we need to worry about getting an address on this one. I just want to identify who's making the submittals.
That would be myself. So thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. As was mentioned, we're here to present a proposed development at the northwest corner of Rollins Road and Route 83, the former, or the current Mallard Creek Shopping Center. I know we don't have any stores right now in Lake County. I don't know how familiar everybody here and in the audience is with Meijer. So I'd like to give a brief overview of the company, and then I can turn it over to Mike Klingel from GreenbergFarrow, who will get into the details of the site and what we are proposing on the site. The Meijer Company was started in 1934 by Hendrik Meijer and his 14-year-old son, Fred Meijer. At the time, Hendrik was a barber, and to supply extra goods for his customers, he opened a small grocery store adjacent to his barber shop. And as we know, during those were pretty tough times, so from day one of the company, it was important to get a quality product at a good value. From there, over the next 40 years or so, the company grew as a grocery store throughout numerous locations in Michigan. And the then 14-year-old son, Fred Meijer, took over the company, was running the company, and was known as an innovator throughout the shopping center industry. And that couldn't be more true than in 1972 when he had the idea of combining a grocery store with general merchandise goods and in essence inventing the modern day supercenter as we know it today. From there, that was the main driver of the company, the growth of the company, to today where we have just over 200 stores in 5 states, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, and Ohio. And the company is now run by the grandson of the founder, Hank Jr., or Hendrik Jr. Meijer, and his brother, Doug. We are still a privately owned company based out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and still have the same core values as they did in 1934 of providing a good quality product at a decent price. Meijer is known as an industry leader in charitable giving in the area. They give 6% of their net profits to local charities, which, as far as I know, in big box retail is a very large amount. They are known throughout the industry for their charity. Some of the programs that we have, years ago we started a free children antibiotics program, where if you walk into our store with a valid prescription for children's antibiotics, we will fill it for free for you. That also has expanded to prenatal vitamins and the generic substitute of Lipitor. To date, this program has saved our customers over $250 million in prescriptions. Just to give you an idea of how involved we are with our communities. Our focus has turned to Lake County, Illinois. As I mentioned, we do not have any stores in the area. We have identified Round Lake Beach as a village of interest for us. We have identified the northwest corner, as mentioned. What we are proposing here is our supercenter, which is 192,000 square feet, with a gas station and with a 2,600 square foot convenience store. We are open 24 hours. That's one thing I always like to point out. It's part of our business model, and has been that. All of our stores, of our 204 stores, all are approved to be open 24 hours. And now Mike Klingel can kind of walk you through the specifics of the site and the details from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Your name?
Mike Klingel, K-L-I-N-G-L.
K-L-I-N. Thank you.
As you can tell, this is a fairly significant project for the village. So I'm going to walk you through it step by step here. Apologize ahead of time for probably the length of time that it's going to take, but I know that you guys need the information in order to be able to do the appropriate evaluation on your end. We submitted to staff about a month ago. They have returned comments both from the planning office as well as Gewalt Hamilton's office. We are in the process of addressing those comments, and with the input that we received from you folks tonight, we'll conclude the amendments that we have made to our initial submission and provide written response back on everything so that the staff can take a second look at it and make sure that things have been addressed appropriately. Sure, you guys are all familiar with the location better than the rest of us, although I grew up just over in Cary, so I'm not too far away from here, and worked in Lake Bluff for many years at Rolf Campbell Associates. But the property is bounded on the south by Rollins Road, on the west by Mallard Creek Drive, and on the north by Hook Drive, on the east by the railroad. As you know, the property being Mallard Creek Shopping Center at one time had a Walmart anchor at the northeast corner, and the Dominick's there, the larger box that you see down at the southwest. In between, there are smaller retail users, some of which are still in business today. The intention is to demo the Dominick's, the Walmart and the anchors are the small users in between. The property around us, there will remain a McDonald's that's currently there today, an Arby's, and a Grease Monkey that all run along the southeast edge of the site. There's a strip center that has Rosati's, GameStop, a couple other users in there, in addition to the MRI scan facility that will also remain. To the west of us is a C2 zoning existing shopping center with the Regal Theaters. North, C2A, which consists of the Village Center as well as the Metro Station. And then to the south, across Rollins Road, there is a park, and then further south from there, residential that back up to the park and then back up to Rollins Road. Our development plan is to construct, as Jim has just also indicated, plus or minus 193,000 square foot store. It's 192 and some change, but pretty close to 193,000. The store, as Jim also indicated, combines grocery and home goods. In addition, additional uses that are within the store is a pharmacy drive up and pharmacy interior walk-up area, which is in the southeast corner of the main building. A garden center, that's about 21,000 square feet, along with some of the other uses that we have along there is some outdoor, temporary outdoor seasonal sales uses that would occur in front of the nursery area, as well as temporary cart storage on the west end of the building. There are cart corrals throughout the parking lot, but there are times that there are not enough room in the cart receiving areas in both of the vestibules that excess would be set on the side of the store until needed. In addition, they're proposing a 2,500 square foot convenience store and gas station. The gas station will have 5 pumps serviced from both sides, so basically 10 bays. Additional uses that are on there that we're looking for approval as part of this larger PUD approval is some ancillary automobiles uses, a vacuum cleaner station along with air pump for filling tires. There is seasonal sales that are identified at each on both sides of each of the pumps. Basically, it would be a 4x4 pallet of the pop is on sale, Coke's on sale, they'll have those displays there. Next to the door, to the left of the door, is another small display area where they're likely to show or house potted plants, small potted plants, or windshield wiper solvent or the likes. We have an ice chest that sits at the southeast corner of the convenience store, and a propane cage that is located on the east side of the convenience store.
Is it proposed that the convenience store and gas facility will also be 24-hour operation?
Correct. And next segue.
Convenience store. Oh, okay. The convenience store, closes its doors at about 10 o'clock. There is a manned person in there that if somebody is having trouble with the gas pumps, that can assist somebody, and operates through a lazy Susan type. If somebody filling up the car with gas needs a pop, can assist them with that, but the doors are not open. And one point I forgot to mention, it is 24 hours, although we do close one entrance at 10 o'clock, and that is simultaneously with the convenience store doors closing.
When do you open the doors? When do you open the doors?
Those are normal business hours. I think the exact time is 7 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
And I was just getting to basically what Jim just said. When I meant 24 hours, you can pump gas 24 hours. But again, the doors will close on the convenience store, as Jim had indicated, for the safety of the worker there, as well as, just so that there's no temptation to stop by and knock off a small gas station area. The hours of the main store are roughly 7 in the morning to, 7 in the morning to 11 at night is about when the one door will close off. And the the home goods portion of the store is at the east side of the store, with a vestibule entrance that indicates home goods. And the fresh portion of the store is on the west side, and that would be the doors that would be open on a 24-hour basis. This way, again, it provides security for the store, a smaller area to be able to watch and monitor ingress and egress of folks that are coming in on the later hours to do shopping. And then the home side will open again at the normal opening hours, about 7 o'clock in the morning.
So basically, you're keeping the pharmacy and the grocery area as your 24-hour. I assume if somebody comes in there and they want to go into another department, the departments will have people there.
The departments are there. The pharmacy actually does not have 24-hour operation either. That is a course of normal operation hours, but the food and the grocery side and the home goods side would be open to 24 hours. Okay. Additionally, the garden center wouldn't be necessarily open past dark either. And of course, that would be more of a seasonal operation, spring, summer, and fall.
Thank you for the clarification.
Not a problem at all. There are several deviations from standards that we're asking for through this, and I'm going to try to point those out as we go through it. We are needing to get a special use as part of this approval, and one of those special use operations is the gas station, as well as the drive-through for the pharmacy. I'm going to try to tick those off one at a time as I go through. It is all in our submission though, and staff and the village has taken a look at it, and actually some of the comments back from Campbell's office has pointed out a couple things that we had not identified initially, and like I say, I will try to hit those as I go through here. Another one of the things I have a photometric plan a little bit later, but one of the other, as long as I'm hitting variations, we are looking for a variation on lighting. Your ordinance requires 400 watt bulbs. We are looking for 1,000 watt bulbs, and so that is one of the departure from standards that we're looking to incorporate in this approval. Go ahead.
If you're saying 1,000 watt bulbs, you're either talking high pressure sodium or metal halide.
Yep.
Have you looked at, or is Meijer considering LED floodlights?
Not at this time. They are in the process of reviewing it, but as you know, any kind of new type of technology, Meijer has, you know, over 200 stores. So from that standpoint, they need to make sure that the LED is something that is not necessarily here to stay, but something that they can readily service across their entire fleet. They are in the process of evaluating that, but at this point in time, they have not decided to move in that direction just quite yet.
So you're using 1,000-watt fixtures to reduce the number of fixtures you need?
The number of poles. Otherwise, and our height that we're proposing is 32.5 feet. That's a 30-foot pole on a 2.5-foot concrete base. And again, that is in the essence of not having to litter the entire parking lot with fixtures and poles. The other component of this development, in that Meijer, and I'm here representing Meijer, as far as what's going on with the lot M1 and M3, the gas station and the main store. The other components here, and I'll show you a little bit later at the end of the slideshow, the plat of re-subdivision. There was a bunch of cleanup that had to happen out here, and I will point that out later. But basically, the other components to this is that there is a parcel that is on the east property line that is identified as lot M2, and M2 is a lot that, right here, sir, M2 is a lot that inland, the individuals that we are buying this property from, will be retaining for future development. Also, the strip center with the scan facility, MRI scans facility, is also in the southwest corner. They are retaining that lot, and that will be known as lot M4. In addition, they control ownership of the properties that are being leased by McDonald's and Arby's. And then the area right here is the newly relocated, the old location of the access to the shopping center before it is being currently reconstructed by Lake County Division of Transportation in the current location that's shown on our plans. As far as that goes, there is access for locations that we're proposing. It is the currently being redeveloped intersection that aligns with Haynes Drive down here. It is a traffic signaled intersection. There'll be a single lane in that aligns with the single through lane on Haynesville. There'll be 3 lanes out, basically a dedicated left, a dedicated through, and a dedicated right-hand turn lane. We are looking for a right out access point. Originally we were looking for a right in, right out, which also pushed it down a little closer to the intersection. Comments came back that staff didn't feel that was a safe situation. We still would like to maintain a right out just for the convenience of the folks, given the fact that this is a convenience store. We'd like to make it as convenient for them to get back out to the light. And we think based on the dedicated right turn lane that they would be first entering into, probably is not going to be that big of a deal. The other location on Rollins Road is the southwest entrance, I'll call. That will be a right in and right out, because with the improvements that are going on right now, there's going to be a median in the center of Rollins Road, and therefore it will restrict that to a right in, right out. We are asking for, or looking for, 2 entrances on Mallard Creek. There currently is 2 entrances, an entrance up north, just south of the detention pond, one further down, one that's right in here servicing is just south of the entrance that's across from the shopping center to the west, and a side entrance here to service the shopping center, strip center there. We are actually asking for a new curb cut to service the trucks, and it will serve as egress for the truck traffic. And I may as well take the opportunity, what we are looking to do is bring trucks into the main entrance, around the side and back of the building, back into the truck well, and then leave via Mallard Creek Drive. The second entrance is really a slightly modified. There is, like I say, a curb cut there. It is basically here, so we're basically flipping it and so that it aligns with the front of the building. So it will be a relocation of an existing curb cut. I think it was identified in the review as us asking for a new cut. I again describe it more as a relocation of an existing curb cut. So just another site plan without the color, without some of these distractions. One of the things that, a couple of things that we are deviating from the code, although in a positive way as we look at it. Parking spaces in the main parking field are 9.5 foot again, and aisle widths are 25 instead of 24, which is what is required by your code. There are spaces on either side flanking the building that will be 9 foot, and that was in an effort to increase parking count. We are looking for that, again, primarily for the convenience and egress for our customers. Wider spaces and a little wider lane, they don't have to worry about trying to maneuver into thinner, narrower spaces and smaller aisles. And beyond that, this is really just a plan that has a lot more dimension, a lot more detail as far as what's underneath the landscape, so that's why I included it in the presentation. Utility plan, I want to kind of let you know where the utilities are coming from. Obviously this is an existing shopping center, so all the utilities are there. Part of what I kind of skipped over, not intentionally, was that we are relocating the detention basin. Currently it kind of takes up right in here and comes down in a kind of a boomerang shape. So from that standpoint, the sanitary line runs from Hook Road across, and it will be going across the corner of our building and then out to the existing connection. So in putting the building there and reshaping the detention facility in the rear of the property, we will be maintaining the location, because the only other option is to come into a structure up in the northwest corner of the property, and it's very deep and probably not real feasible to get to, given the elevation difference between Mallard Creek Road and the Regal Theater. So basically we will be relocating that. A portion of this will stay underneath the pond. One of the comments that Gabriel Hamilton had for us was that they'd like that to be replaced with a new line. Obviously it's under a detention basin, and we feel that that's fine. It's certainly not real accessible, so we'd like to make sure that the freshest of material is there, so that there's no breach somewhere down the road. Sanitary is basically existing on Mallard Creek. As I indicated, there's a connection here that runs on the west side, as well as this existing connection here on the east side. And then there's also existing sanitary that runs up and then over this access drive that is servicing, well, this extension here is servicing the Grease Monkey. This here is what's servicing the Arby's and the McDonald's. That will remain as well. We basically are, the Meijer is pulling their utility, sanitary utility off of Mallard Creek. Water, again, we've got basically we're connecting at 3 locations, so basically overall improving water flow and pressure within the system because of the looping. And one of those connections are down here at the southwest access point, back up in here where there used to be the back entrance to the Walmart, and then over off of Mallard Creek here. And then storm, basically not all of the site goes to the detention facility in the rear of the store. The line basically just south of this storm line right here, somewhere down in here and then up this way, the elevations of the site currently, and what we need to leave it because we can't raise the site, is that is flowing to the ditch that's occurring on the north side of Rollins Road. So everything from here up is going to the detention basin, inclusive of about half of the future developed land here. The rest of this is all heading down towards the ditch and existing village storm sewer system north of Rollins Road. I'm going to take a small break because one of the issues that we're looking at is that the village is requesting a little over 1,100 parking spaces based on ordinance. We are providing a total of 760 parking spaces on site. So we engaged KLOA, traffic engineering firm, to look at both and analyze the existing traffic, what traffic is going to be generated from the Meijer store in comparison with the existing shopping center. And then also they did look and did a study on parking of 2 existing locations. We've got a handout for you folks. This was a late development in the review process, and so we just finished up the study this past Monday. Staff asked us to bring additional copies to pass out to you folks. There is the study that KLOA did, as well as parking that is being provided and soon to be provided, stores that Meijer is operating now and also constructing. Years 2012 through 2015, I think, is what's listed on there, showing you what basically the Meijer parking for those more contemporary facilities are. In addition to one other item there is one of the review comments was how operationally this was going to work, how many trucks, when they were coming, and that basically provides information there. So I'll turn it over to Bill Woodward from KLA, and I'll see you in a couple minutes.
You want to go back to this one first? Yeah.
Good evening, my name is Bill Woodward. I'm a traffic engineer, senior consultant with KLOA. My address is 9575 West Higgins, Suite 400 in Rosemont, Illinois, 60018. We've been charged with conducting a traffic and parking evaluation for this site. So I'm here tonight to walk you through the process and the findings from this evaluation. As Mike has already gone over with the site and so forth, the Meijer building will be located at the rear of the site, and it will face Rollins Road. The customer access will be along the south face of the building. Let's talk briefly about the Rollins Road Improvement Program that we're all very familiar with. As we know, this is currently under construction now, and major improvements will be done to the Rollins Road corridor, especially at the intersection of 83. We know that Rollins Road will be grade separated from the train crossing that's currently there today. That will be extremely beneficial. As well as Haynesville Road, which used to intersect Rollins Road with a signal east of the McDonald's, if I may use that as a reference. It was located east of the McDonald's restaurant, and that has now since been moved to the west of the McDonald's. That improvement right there is very beneficial both to the site as well as to the surrounding area, because now this traffic signal here has moved further away from Route 83, so it provides more capacity between these two traffic signals. So between the distance of the signal being moved further to the west, the grade separation of Rollins Road with the train track, as well as the improvements along here with the geometric improvements with the widening and so forth, that's greatly going to help improve capacity along Rollins Road through the area. You will have more availability between these two signals for traffic to get in and out of our site, so that when the traffic signal here goes green, when this traffic here is exiting out to go eastbound on Rollins Road, there's actually some place for them to go, versus the cars being stuck there, especially now today, the train goes through, all bets are off. In addition, the site itself will have very good access, and it's got a full access signalized here off of Rollins Road that we just discussed. It's opposite Haynesville Road. It will provide 1 lane inbound, as Mike was saying before. It will provide 1 lane inbound and 3 lanes outbound. It's a left, a through, and a right. This geometry here that you see on this access drive will mirror the existing, or what will be put in on the Haynesville Road approach on the south side of Rollins Road, which is excellent. When the traffic comes into the site, if I may back up for a moment, Rollins Road will have a westbound right turn lane and an eastbound left turn lane at the signal to allow the traffic to get into the site more easily. Once that traffic comes in, it'll be under free flow conditions when it gets to this first internal intersection to allow the traffic to go left or right in towards the parking bay of the Meijer store, the parking area. Again, this is very helpful because it gets the traffic off of Rollins Road, keeps things moving along the corridor, which makes everybody happy. The west access over here, today it's full access. It's a little, well, prior to the construction, but it's full access. When all is said and done, it will be restricted to a right-in, right-out situation. Again, this is a better improvement for the area from the standpoint that you have less turning vehicle conflicts of cars trying to, before we're making lefts in and lefts out, along with the, the intersection here in Mallard Creek Drive, along with the signalized access to the east. So now you've reduced traffic movements going in and out of access drive, so that will be an improvement as well. The access drive on Mallard Creek Drive, that will be in alignment with the front face of the building. It will provide 1 lane inbound and 2 lanes outbound. The outbound lanes will be striped as a left and a right, respectively, and those outbound lanes will be under stop sign control. And at the top, the northern access is a service truck access, primarily a truck access, so it will provide 1 lane inbound and 1 lane outbound, and that lane will be also, the outbound lane will also be under stop sign control. This will be a very underutilized access as far as any customer traffic and so forth, simply because the truck bays are going to be situated right here, and it's not going to be very inviting for cars to go through that. So mostly they're going to be coming through this access here, and this access here, and that access there. Further with the site, the drive-through pharmacy will be located over here off the east face of the building. The drive-through will be a clockwise circulation where cars will come up and approach the drive-through and then proceed to the drive-through window. The drive-through service with the Meijer is purely a convenience standard versus a necessity standard. It's purely a convenience. Most people will go inside the Meijer store to do their pharmacy transactions. This is purely a convenience factor. Basically, the way the site's laid out, you have stacking for about 4 to 5 vehicles. 1 vehicle being at the window with stacking for about 4 vehicles following that. We have found with previous studies that is more than sufficient stacking for this drive-through service. Therefore, it will not, it should not interfere with any of the traffic circulation patterns going on within the parking lot. It won't cause any congestion or backups in that area. The fueling center is located at the south end of the site. Mike touched upon the access drives to the fueling center here and how the traffic will get in and out of the site. We looked at the traffic generation for this site. We use nationally published rates issued by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, commonly known as ITE. Based on the trip generation of that, we looked at that, what this development would generate on a weekday, morning, afternoon, and Saturday, as well as a daily volume. We compared those traffic volumes to what the site is now today. If you were to take the square footage of the total site today and assume it's all done as retail, the Meijer development will be at or even a little bit less in some cases of the estimated projected traffic volumes on both the weekday evening and Saturday midday peak hours, as well as a daily situation. With respect to the parking situation is the proposed parking for the main parking bay, the parking field, is less than what is required by code. As part of our parking evaluation, excuse me a moment. Sorry about that. As part of our parking evaluation, what we did is we took a look at the village's ordinance. Then we also took a look at the nationally published rates, again by ITE, Parking Generation Manual, based on a similar types of land uses for the Meijer, for basically a superstore type situation. Looking at the peak parking demand generated by similar developments across the nation. When you compare that to what is being proposed here today, to the nationally published rates of a peak parking demand, the proposed parking, which is about 734 spaces, is more than sufficient to meet the average peak parking demand for both a weekday as well as a Saturday condition in a non-December month. Because as you know, you do not necessarily plan for the Christmas holidays when you have 11 months of the year to contend with. So the parking based on national published rates is what you're proposing here. What's being proposed here is very much in line with the national publication. In addition to that, we surveyed 2 existing Meijer stores in the Chicagoland area to see what was going on out there. We interviewed the one in Rolling Meadows, which I believe is one of the first, if not the first one in the Chicagoland area, the one in Rolling Meadows, as well as the one in Bolingbrook off of James Avenue there in Boughton Road. We surveyed both of these locations. We went out on both a weekday as well as a Saturday. We took parking inventories every half hour between 11 o'clock and 7 o'clock, so 8 hours of data on both days at both locations. We found that we also took into consideration the inventory of the existing parking fields there. As you know, we've received a lot of snow this winter. So there are a lot of spaces towards the back ends of the parking fields that were simply not usable because of the mountains of snow. So we took that into consideration as well when we say, okay, well, this parking is obviously not available. Well, when we did our surveys, we found that based on the hours that we surveyed and so forth, that they are only using about 50% of the parking that's being provided. Of these, some 700 spaces usable at some sites are only using about 50%, and this is on a Saturday in the afternoon. This further justification that the proposed parking spaces in this field are more than adequate to accommodate any peak parking demand that might be generated at this specific location for both a weekday and a Saturday midday condition. So, in conclusion, if I may, I just want to say that the traffic control and roadway improvements proposed to be implemented in conjunction with the Rollins Road Corridor Improvement Plan and the proposed Meijer Store Development Plan will effectively mitigate the traffic impact of the proposed development. The proposed parking supply of 760 parking spaces will be more than adequate to accommodate the peak parking demand for the Meijer Store based on both nationally published parking generated information for related land uses, such as ITE, as well as surveys of 2 existing Meijer stores in the regional area. This concludes my formal presentation. If you have any questions, I'm here now. Otherwise, I'll be sitting there waiting if you have any further questions.
Actually, I do have a couple.
Okay.
Fueling center trips and lot M2, M4 trips, you've got them listed here with a reduction to account for vehicles that may patronize both the Meijer store and the fueling center.
Yes.
or the outlots, are those percentages from ITE, or are they just based on some other experience?
They're based on a combination of ITE data. ITE, for a gas station, you could take as much as up to, I think, like 60 to 70%. We're erring a little more on the conservative side. Based on studies we've done for similar type of situations of other discount superstores with fueling stations attached to their buildings.
Anyone on the commission, questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I can find my way back up to the microphone, but I can't really do anything else, so I needed to get my eyes. Again, just to summarize what Bill went through is while we're asking for a deviation from standard on this particular issue, the Meijer and any national retailer is not going to voluntarily have less parking spaces than what they feel is going to service their store. It's starting out in a deficit and causing their patrons to be mad because they can't find parking and cause them to spend excess time driving through the parking lot in order to find a parking space that is available. And while a lot of their older stores, when they were first constructing them, ran into similar, and I'm talking Michigan is where they started, and I've worked in Michigan for about 10 to 12 years, extensively for Home Depot, and the standards up there for parking are very similar to what the village is requesting from a standpoint of quantities, and even more. Motor City, I guess they felt that everybody could drive 2 cars at one time up there. But as you know, as years have gone on, those standards have been shown to be way more than what is necessary. And right now, while Home Depot is not necessarily building new stores, our service to them these days are basically going back and carving out outlots in those large massive parking lots that basically are deteriorating over the years because the ones closest to the road don't get used because there's too many parking spaces out there. So that is the one document that I did supplement Bill's report with, is those stores that were that are already operational in 2013, those that are being constructed and are opening now in 2014, and those stores that are also under construction that will be opening in 2015. And you can see by those numbers and those quantities, it's basically in keeping with what the modern or contemporary parking facility that Meijer is looking to roll out in all of their facilities. Bill will be here afterwards if there's any additional questions with regard to either the traffic being generated, movements outside the property, or parking, if anything comes up to your mind. Jumping back into the site, I want to go through architecture, signage, and then I've got some slides of some interior shots of the store to give you a flavor of what you can expect from Meijer. The main store, as well as the fuel center, being constructed of a precast concrete panel that is stamped with a brick pattern in it. The colors that you see, macadamia is the lighter color, or tan is what I like to refer to it as, or tan bark is the darker color. Is intricately colored within the concrete, so it's not painted. It is intricately colored, so that if there's a chip or anything else on that basically is, you're not going to see the white concrete behind it because it's throughout. The store is horizontally as well as vertically articulated. both with the color variation of the brick imprint, as well as the undulation of the rooftop or the parapet, actually, because the rooftop is below that. And then the horizontal banding within the center of the store. Both entries, again, as a reminder, this is the home goods side and this is the fresh side, are both displayed with a two-story glass vestibule with a canopy over both, with the signature blue appointments to both the roof as well as the canopy for those vestibules and covered canopies. As you go around to the side and the rear of the stores, again, we don't have necessarily the finesse of single banding, but we basically have a wainscot type application of the darker brick color to basically ground the building, and then the lighter tan color or macadamia on top. In addition, again, breaking up the facades with a vertical element of the pilasters that are being identified by the color change. Again, this as well as the fuel center has taken into account the ordinance that the village has for screening rooftop units, and the parapets have been raised so that even from Hook Drive, we're somewhat elevated from the base course or base wall of the building, that you will not be able to see any rooftop units across those. Basically a full-size color of some of the backgrounds of the slides we have. Again, you can see the vertical and horizontal articulation with the banding. You can see also get a flavor for the signage, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. The two-story glass vestibule, as well as the canopy over the entrance, as well as and cart storage, as I was talking about before, is inside the building through a door here, so that they stage them going this way and people can pull them out as they enter the store from both vestibules. The fuel center, similar architecture, again, precast concrete with stamped brick pattern in them on all four sides. Don't have as much of the vertical articulation in this one, but we do have the horizontal with the two-color scheme, along with a canopy that basically covers all 10 fueling locations, in addition to a canopy that extends from the main canopy where the fuel station is back to the front door, so that everybody can enter and leave paying for their gas with some protection from the elements. The canopy is metal canopy. It is a white background with the signature blue Meijer band, and there is a Meijer signature on both the east, west, and south face of the canopy. And again, there's a perspective sketch of what that will look like as well. Landscaping, and one of the things that we sat down with staff right at the get-go, they asked that we take a good hard look at the landscaping and give our best effort forward as far as providing that screening and amenity within the property. And I think we've put a good best foot forward on that. We have screening of a mix of evergreen, deciduous, shade trees, as well as flowering trees, ornamental trees that line Hook Road. Also, we are extending the sidewalk from where it stops to cross over into the commuter station that from the west, or I'm sorry, from the east. And we are going to replace the guardrail with another wood guardrail fence or guardrail detail to make sure that there's extra protection for the cars traveling on there in case they were to go off the road. Additionally, as we go down the east side on Mallard Creek, again, a mix of deciduous shrubs as well as shade trees and evergreen trees. One of the comments that was made by Ralph Campbell's office was that they wanted to see these upright evergreen shrubs, and that's what they were identified as, evergreen shrubs. But really they're upright, and we were proposing 6-footers because of the narrow band that we have. Or they suggested we put in white pine. White pines are gonna get probably 25 to 35 foot wide when they grow up, and we really only have about 12 feet there. And we want to be able to screen the truck dock as best as possible. So we've taken and we've changed out to get something a little bit speedier growing, as well as something that will be larger. We're proposing 8 to 10 footers in there, and they are staggered front and back. And so you're really going to get somewhat of a solid screen running in there when they're installed. Although at the size that they're going to be putting in, there still will be ability to peer through there, but as they grow up, it will be a solid screen of evergreen. In addition to that, as part of the building element, staff had indicated when we first came in that there were businesses in the area that provided a screen wall on either side of the truck well, so that as you're approaching the truck well, you can't see in the trucks that are sitting there on it. So we have incorporated on both sides of the truck well on these wing walls a 12-foot high screen wall. So again, you're getting protection as you approach, as well as once you're in front of it, we will have an evergreen barrier there as well. Again, it's continuing around. We have provided a continuous bed of deciduous shrubs, evergreen shrubs, and ornamental grasses, along with ornamental trees along the area that we front on Rollins Road. It was indicated that the ordinance would like to see a berming there from 3 to 4 foot. Again, we chose to do a continuous bed of deciduous shrubs because we've got a couple of issues that we're looking to see what we can do as far as adding some berming, but we've got to worry about the tanks for the underground tanks there for the fuel center that is protruding out into the green space that is still our property before we get to the village's drainage way, which then slopes down pretty quickly, as well as this area, again, the southern portion of this site all drains forward. And while we do have structures picking up stormwater, there is still an element of overflow when and if there is a storm that the structures can't pick. So we don't necessarily want to block that area for that ability for the overflow. We have added a sidewalk that connects to the front walk of the gas station. There is one already being installed on the east side up into the site by the improvements that are being done by Lake County. Additionally, within the general parking area here, each island has 2 shade trees or 2 ornamental trees, along with deciduous shrubs, evergreen shrubs, and or ornamental grasses, and the entire island is covered with shrubs. Another portion of the area that we're looking for deviation from standard is the signage. As you can well see by the site plan, we're probably about 2 football fields away from Rollins Road, so we are asking for Meijers prototypical sign package. Much of the square footage that is taken up in that calculation, which I think comes out to about 1,700 square feet, is the main Meijer sign, which is, those are 5-foot letters. But I'm going to jump ahead real quick here and show you that there's a photograph from the entrance at Rollins Road and the main traffic signal intersection. So you can see as far as back as the building is and as big as that sign is, it really isn't all that big when you're looking from that distance. I'm gonna point out where these signs are. Basically, again, the Meijer sign here that we were just talking about is in the center of the building, framed by both of the vestibules. The pharmacy drive-up sign is here, adjacent to the drive-up window on the front of the building. Again, from a standpoint of identifying the fresh and home portions of the store. So again, they're about 50 square feet apiece. More of a directional sign than something that's going to be readily seen from Rollins Road, but basically identifies as you're coming into the site whether or not you want to go and shop for groceries or for home goods or general merchandising. You can kind of position your car where that's at. Additionally, within the operation of this store, there is room for 4 tenants, and those tenants range from anything from a sit-down restaurant, or a fast food restaurant like a Subway, or a bank, beautician, nails and hair, eye vision location, and those licensees will have a licensee sign, which are 10 square foot each. That's the only signage that they're allotted on any of the pylon signs or anything that we have, and those are located flanking either side of the vestibule. Those signs would only put up when and if there is a tenant that is renting that space, and generally, because one space is a flex space, because in Michigan are states that they have bottle returns, the bottle return takes up space, but sometimes then that just becomes a larger one. So a lot of times there's three users, but basically there's room for 4, and so there's one sign allotted for each one. Lastly, on the building, we have a welcome sign over each door. I think those are like 7 square feet apiece, not visible for anything except for when you're walking into the front of the building. We are asking for 2 pylon signs. One pylon sign that will be located off the main entrance here, which will be basically advertisement out of the road for the Meijer, as well as will double as a price point sign for the fuel center, showing the 4 types of fuel that we're selling and offering at the gas station and the prices for each. In addition, we will be doing a masonry base that basically will identify that the store is in the village of Round Lake Beach, as well as the north sign. This one's about 430 square feet, and this one's about 300 square feet. And this one is located at the north entrance here, so that we have exposure to 83, intersection of Route 83 and Hook Road. This one is 20 foot tall, and again, we've banded it again so that everyone knows that the Meijer is in the village of Round Lake Beach. Lastly, the signage for the fuel center, as I indicated and pointed out on the elevations, the Meijer emblem and the blue banding is on 3 sides of the canopy, the east, west, and south, and there is a sign on each side of those as well. Basically, this is duplicated on 3 sides. And then there is a small sign that basically is on the wall of the store here, that basically is in interchangeable letters down in this box here, that basically they can identify that something's on sale, cases of Pepsi, 6 to 12 packs of Pepsi, whatever, and those would be interchangeable or changeable as far as weekly specials or monthly specials. So again, from this, we're looking for a deviation for total square footage of signage, height of the both pylon signs, and I'm not sure if the number of signs total on the site. There was a question from staff as to whether or not the sign on the north would even be visible. This is the intersection of 83 and Hook Road. You can see in the distance the 20-foot pylon sign here that we're proposing. It will be visible from the intersection. I actually drove it again this evening. It will be visible from the through and straight and the right turn lane coming from on the other side of 83. It will be visible obviously east southbound on Route 83, and you will get intermittent visibility of it coming westbound or northbound on 83. But it again is there. There are 2 trees that are on our property that I could not take out of the photograph, but those would be removed to make sure that there would be no additional hindrances to that sign. And obviously those trees would be replaced elsewhere on the site, either probably by several trees, given the size that those are. Last component that we're here before you is the re-subdivision plat, and as I indicated earlier, this property is a bit of a mess adjacent to us as well as the property itself. So we're going to do some cleanup in addition to actually re-subdividing this so that Inland will have the property that they will continue to own and the property that we are going to purchase. The cleanups is, while Hook Road is there really is nothing on record that was ever dedicated. While there's quick claim deeds and whatnot that would indicate that it's there was really nothing recorded. So we are hereby dedicating Hook Road so everybody can continue to drive on that, as well as Mallard extended up to the intersection of Hook and Mallard Creek. The plat of re-subdivision will combine the properties that Inland owns and the property that was once Walmart. And we will be creating lot M1 as the main Meijer lot. M2, which is a triangle piece that Inland will retain for potential future development. Lot 3, which is the lot that will have the fuel center on it. 4, M4 on the southwest corner, that will be the strip center, the MRI scan building, and then anything else that may be constructed, primarily likely parking for the MRI scan building north of the existing structure. Lots 5, 6, and 7 are all owned by the village, and they are again providing storm sewer along the north side of Rollins Road. And the last parcel is M8, which is a strip that currently has the old access point for the shopping center, which is a residual, which my understanding is likely going to be parking for the existing outlots that are there. These 2 parcels again are controlled by Inland. They were previous subdivisions, so we're really not including them in the re-subdivision. And then the property here is owned by Grease Monkey is also standalone, and again is part of the subdivision here that was previously done. As promised, just to give you an idea, in case you have not been in on a Meijer store before, Meijer is known for their cleanliness, their wide aisles, the brightness, as you can see, large signage. It's very easy and very accommodating to come into the store and know where you want to go. And they have over 40 different departments, product types, as you can imagine in a super center. But one of the other things that I always like to point out is that Meijer is well known, obviously the roots of Hendrik Meijer in bringing vegetables and fruits into his barber shop. His roots go back to the grocery side of things, and that is why Meijer today even still brings in fresh produce and perishables on a daily basis, so that their customers are always being provided the highest quality in produce and milks and so on and so forth. With that, it kind of ends my final formal presentation. I am available for questions. Mr. Ostrowski is available for questions, as well as Bill Woodward. I think that we've laid everything out very nicely for the village here as far as what we're proposing to do here. We continue to work with staff, and certainly if you would see fit to move us forward on this, it would be great. I understand there's a lot to digest here, and we're here to do your bidding.
Okay, any questions for the gentleman from the commission?
I've got a couple of questions, but I think one of them might be for staff. Well, I'm told it'll probably be for staff, but Lot M2, I'm looking at that, and I was looking at the report, and it stated that it was going to have the asphalt removed, and that was being retained by inland, if I'm correct, is what you were saying, correct?
Correct.
It's just it's such an odd shape. My question is, why wouldn't that be included in the original bid for purchase? I'm trying to find out what could actually be used on that parcel later.
Well, it's about 2 acres. It's about 2 acres of land, and obviously, as you go further north, you get into the pinch of the triangle. But
Correct.
Obviously, if you imagine that not being there, you have as big or bigger of any of the outlots that are currently there. And so from that standpoint, Inland has elected to retain that parcel for potential future development.
And will there be anything done with that property?
Yes, and let me just add that the contract between Meijer and Inland is that Inland will demolition the site, so the buildings will come down under their ownership. All the asphalt will be removed, utilities that will be in the way, and at that point in time, Meijer will come in and start construction and doing basically the rehab and or the new construction. It has not been determined yet, and discussions are still ongoing as to, since Inland's going to be on site and doing the demo, whether or not they would restore, M2 as part of the initial grading that would be going on, or whether or not that is something that Meijer would just do and then be, basically be reimbursed for.
My other question was with regards to both Mallard Creek and Hook Drive. With regards to the tractor trailer traffic coming in there, will there be any work done on Mallard Creek and on Hook to take care of the extra truck traffic?
Right now, there is nothing on the agenda to do as far as additional improvements there, except for that within the traffic analysis, KLA had identified the potential need for a left turn lane on Mallard Creek southbound to come into the second entrance in front of the store. And like I say, we got the report about as timely as you did as far as looking at it tonight. So obviously we're looking into that and evaluating that recommendation in their analysis.
I'd be interested to find out whether, I'm looking at, it's not much of a distance between Hook Drive and the drive coming in behind the back end of the property, north end of the property. I'm just wondering how the road would hold up because we didn't have that truck traffic on there prior. It was all coming in off of Hook Drive, coming behind the Walmart and all that.
Well, basically, there is 2 service drives just south of the pond right now, as well as further down that service the backs of the existing shopping center.
Right, the one that you guys are proposing to put in.
Up north here.
Right. Is it basically the exact same width as what's currently there now on the south one?
The entrance, or?
The current truck, or the current entrance that's on the, I guess it's on the west side of the property.
Yeah, well, this one is new. This one, because the pond that comes down
Correct.
into here. So
But
this is brand new
the
here.
same size as what's there currently further down.
Right, I believe so. It's probably within comparable with.
The reason I'm asking is, when you've got truck traffic coming in and out on, especially on something as narrow as what Mallard Creek is, they've got to come out, they're gonna have to go very wide to be able to turn. I'm assuming they're going to be coming in off of both, they'll be going both to Rollins Road or up to Mallard Creek. So I'm worried about how it would affect the car traffic if it's not tight enough in there, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
If
I get you.
remember correctly-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I remember correctly, didn't you say that traffic coming out of there would go down to Rollins Road
Correct.
rather than up the drive?
For the very reason that you're talking about, Mr. Moss, our truck analysis, or where we would have, and like I say, probably half of the trucks that are going to come in here are going to be Meijer trucks, Meijer controlled, and so basically they're told the route that they need to go. And those primarily, a lot of the other half of trucks are a mix of semis as well as pup trucks or van type square box trucks. So they're the smaller ones that the vendors will be bringing in. So at least half your trucks that Meijer are going to be coming in off of the main entrance here, along the east side across the back,
Right.
and then backing into here, and then coming out and going south.
Okay.
For the very reason you're saying, they'd have to make wide turns. And so if they chose to come north on Mallard Creek Drive, that's going to be a heck of a turn. This side, they're going to have to pull into the site here, and then they're going to have to jackknife it back into
Correct.
what you call it. So it's going to be a difficult maneuver for them to make. And that's why we have identified this particular route right now. And then you, like I say, you're exiting on the northern side of that and going on to the southbound lanes. So that maneuver is not going to be as difficult.
Would there be any signage there for the trucks to indicate that?
If the village would like, if the village would like us, that we would have no problem posting.
I think that's for discussion with staff, but it sounds like a good idea. John? Have the plans, particularly with respect to parking and traffic, been reviewed by the Greater Roanoke Fire Protection District for radiuses and so forth?
Not specifically, no. The village engineer's office has taken a look at it, and also the village planner's office.
Okay, a copy needs to be sent to the Fire Protection District so that they can make a look at it. We've gone through this before. We will need their concurrence on radius curvatures coming in and out of driveways, because they know what their rigs need. And I'm assuming from the size of this, they're gonna wanna be able to access it with everything they've got.
I can kind of add to that is the Meijer criteria, and most of these curves are all 50-foot radiuses for that very reason, that the semi-trucks that are coming in here are longer than probably the longest truck that you guys have got, but at the same time, I concur, it should be given to the Fire Protection Department, and we would be more than happy to accommodate that.
It's easier for us to let them take a look at it and say, we can't get here.
Absolutely.
They're pretty good about it. Okay, John,
Yes.
your turn.
Well, actually, that turns into, I think the comments from both the village engineer's office who's working on this project, which is Walt Hamilton, a gentleman named Pat Glenn at the end of the table here. The other two gentlemen at the table are from Ralph Campbell and Associates, village planner's office. And this may be the appropriate time for them to present their initial comments and review points for the commission. So it's up to you guys. How you want to start?
Pat, you want to go first?
Sure. I haven't appeared before this commission before. My name is Patrick Glenn, Glenn. I'm an engineer with Walt Hamilton, Gewalt Hamilton. Our report is in your packet. We were charged with reviewing the plans with regard to stormwater management, utilities, sanitary, storm sewer, water main, access and traffic impacts, parking, circulation, lighting, as well as a review of the platted subdivisions and the associated easement plats. Our review letter has somewhere around 100 comments in it, and we recognize that a lot of those were highly technical in nature and things that can be sorted out as we proceed toward final approvals and final engineering, but we wanted to put everything out on the table we could at once and give the design team as much opportunity as possible to react to them and respond to them. On a lot of things, we are pretty close, and again, it's technical nature. Stormwater, we generally concur with their design approach. We have a few technical comments on that. The sanitary sewer and water main utilities, we concur with their design approach. Again, some technical issues there. There are a few bigger picture items that we do think that we need some more time to work with the design team before we're prepared to bring a recommendation for approval to this body. As far as access goes, Commissioner Wallace, your point is well taken. Of course, we just got the traffic impact study a couple days ago as well, so we haven't had a chance to fully digest it and make formal comments, but we do think that there needs to be more examination of the potential impacts, not only for the traffic on Mallard and Hook Drive, but also the operation of that intersection. The traffic demands show perhaps 30% of the generated traffic coming from the north. We'd like to take a look closer at how that intersection is going to operate, especially considering the existing demands from the sports center and the village complex here. The parking is still something that we think needs further study. It's of course a substantial departure from the village's standards. We understand that, and it dips below what we would consider to be industry standards. And, we concur, of course, that we don't think that Meijer is designing something here that they know is going to be underparked, but we're not quite there with the analysis that they've done here with the store counts that they did. You know, counted a couple stores in March. I think we need to do a little more to factor up those counts. And you know, I agree we don't design necessarily for the peak, you know, day before Christmas, but also early March, you know, during bad weather is probably a little too far the other way. We need to work with the design team to find that happy medium to make sure we're all comfortable with the parking that's going to be provided out here. We'd also like to work with their staff to look more closely at the site circulation. We didn't talk much here, but we've got some concerns that we'd like to bring forward with how the fuel truck's going to get in and out of the gas station site. And I think as it's proposed right now, that fuel truck actually needs to go through the parking field at the west end to get out. We'd like to work with the design team on that a little bit. The lighting levels, I think it was already mentioned, or it's also in planning's review. The lighting levels are a bit high. There's not enough detail in there for us to know that the fixtures are all fully recessed and meet the village's requirements for that. So we'd like to revisit that. And we're still. We need more detail on what happens with that the retail to remain at the southwest side in the MRI center there. The MRI center fronts to the east. They use the parking to the east right now. That's all going to become the western access. I believe that the traffic impact study indicates that the remaining center and the parking that's going to remain there will be less than village code for the square footage of the center that's going to be there. We'd like to see how that parking is going to lay out and how circulation is going to work for that as well. So, you know, there are no deal breaker issues here. There's nothing we don't think that we can get worked out, but we're not there right now as far as that technical review and being able to bring forward a positive recommendation to this board.
I would have been surprised if you had been. What I like hearing is there are no deal breakers.
Good.
I'm going to present our review. And you'll notice our review was dated March 6th, so we have received some new material since then, mainly the traffic information, and that's where we raised some questions. So we agree with Mr. Glenn. We think we're going to need a little bit more time to review some of that. Our other comments, just some of the issues about departures versus special use matters. We have worked with the Planning Commission for a number of years, and some of the things that they call departures are actually just things you built into the special use in the past. In regard to signage, we did have some issues, which I think they've since they had the benefit of our review, we did have some questions in regard to things such as the height, setbacks, the view of the sign from the purpose of the view of the sign in the northeast corner as to how it related to Route 83. I think they've provided some excellent illustrations for you to see how that would relate. We had some other issues in regard to sidewalks along Mallard Creek Drive. We'll have to get into reviewing some of that. They mentioned some of the landscaping in those areas. We don't want to sacrifice one for the sake of the other. I think that they've offered some good alternatives. We have identified that, one of the things we really like, and they didn't really stress this, is the fact that they are using the same decorative lights along Hook and Mallard Creek as you see at the other parts of the village. I think that's a very strong appearance issue that helps draw this center into that it is part of Round Lake Beach. We're still reviewing that. We may want to review that with the village engineer. They've got, I think, 10 lights, which we think is excellent. Maybe the need for one more. We'll still have to take a look at that. They answered the question in regard, we had raised the issue is, are the colors integrated into the materials? They addressed those issues. We did have some questions in regard to the just consistency in the submissions. One area says that they're looking at a chain link fence, another said an ornamental metal fence. We'll resolve that before we come back before the Plan Commission with them. I think they addressed the issue of the screening of the truck docks. The trash enclosures, according to your ordinance, are supposed to be 8 foot high for walls to enclose them. I believe the one at the service station is shown as 6 feet high, so we'll have to address some of that.
Along with that now, they mentioned outdoor storage of carts when the indoor storage area was filled. If they're going to store the carts outside, wouldn't that have to be in an enclosure that again was masked the same way the trash enclosures are?
That is one of your requirements in the ordinance, and we haven't really identified what they would be proposing on that. That again, on page 5 of our memo, we did review things that are use changes and versus departures. As part of a special use, we have built in outside storage. If you read the strict lettering in your ordinance, it says outdoor storage is prohibited as an accessory use. But we have accommodated as part of PUDs and other special uses in the village. So we will need to take a greater look at that, not as a departure, but as part of the special use aspect of it.
The whole purpose of a special use permit plan development such as this is to allow for those kinds of departures from normal application of the ordinances to make best use of the land and the space available. So I have no problem with that. It's just a matter of consistency. We don't like outdoor storage that's exposed. And that's the issue here, is not that they're storing it outdoors, but to make sure that it's enclosed in such a way that it doesn't become an eyesore or a temptation for pilferage.
Well, that's part of the trade-off issue that
Yeah.
I think they will be properly screened from the standpoint of views off-site. On-site, naturally, you're going to see them. But I think we also have to review the fact that since they're not visible off-site, the issue of vandalism, kids taking you for a little ride, throwing them into the detention pond or something like that, we'll have to work with them on addressing some of those issues.
It's a detail, it's not a deal breaker, it's just something we consider.
Right. Nothing that we can't work out some kind of recommendation coming back to you with. Other than that, I believe, like I say, you've had our review, they've had our review. We'll look to continue to work with them, and whatever time you continue this to, we'll be happy to address it.
Okay. Anything else, any questions for staff?
I have one. I'm sure John can answer this. The stoplight that was taken out of replacing that, are they? They're not putting a light back in there?
The Rollins Gateway project will have a light.
Yeah, it will be there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it says, the mattress is existing light, it doesn't exist anymore. I just wanna make sure, because if they're planning on doing all their truck traffic exiting there,
Right.
it's gonna stack up pretty fast.
Yeah, at the end of the day, before the Rollins Gateway job is complete, or when it's complete, that's, we'll be back.
Okay, thank you.
What was the sign setback on the south side at the front entrance from the roadway?
It's 20, it's already been corrected, but it was 17 and a half is what it was set at the leading edge, and it was supposed to be 20. We've already corrected it. Again, based on a lot of Mr. Maiden's comments as well as Mr. Glenn's comments, we will, along with the comments that we'll be getting from you this evening, resubmitting, and they'll find that a lot of those comments will be taken care of, just from the standpoint of them being brought up once.
We will not be resolving this tonight. Obviously, we're gonna be continuing this because there is work to be done. However, at this point, I'm going to open the meeting up for comment from the public. If there's anyone here who wants to ask questions of the petitioner or wants to make comments about the plans or what's being done, we'll be happy to hear you at this time. We ask that you come up to the microphone and give us your name and address and make comments. So, do we have anybody that wants to? Gentleman in the back that stood up first, we'll let you come up.
Good evening. My name is Ed Furman, F-U-H-R-M-A-N-N. I live at 214 Sprucewood Court in Round Lake Beach. Have a few questions. Per the landscape plan, looking at that, will there be a sidewalk installed along the east side of Mallard Creek Drive?
Yes, there is, to the point where our property ends, and I believe that would be the intent of inland to carry it down the remaining portion. Again, our property stopping on this rendering here, so this portion we're not under control of, but we are installing a sidewalk on the east side.
Outstanding, thank you. Will the curb cuts along Mallard Creek Drive then have any provision, separate marking or physical separation for pedestrians or cyclists who will be coming in? Or is the curb cut, particularly the one further south that parallels the front entrance, just for vehicular traffic? I ask because, for instance, with the movie theater just to the west of Mallard Creek Drive, should a bunch of kids or whatever for patrons decide to come across to Meijers afterwards on foot or by bike, when they cross Mallard Creek, are they then going to have to do battle with a main entrance over there, as opposed to having, say, crosswalks marked?
We're not proposing anything across Mallard Creek, but there is there's a continuous walk and a signed walk, pavement marked walk, connecting from here across on the north side of this entrance to align with the front sidewalk of the store.
Okay.
And you can see the heavier hatching there.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the area that would be striped for pedestrian to cross those service drive areas.
John?
Yes.
Mallard Creek Drive there is village road, right?
Yes, it is.
So markings for that sort of thing would be something the village would be involved with also?
In coordination with this development project, yes.
Does that answer your question on that one, sir?
Yes.
Okay, what else?
And it's much more than I expected at this point, so I'm happy with that.
Please.
Shifting modes a little bit, where's the bike rack going to be?
There is a bike rack that is located, I can't remember which, either one side or the other here, as well as there's a bike rack that is located by the employee entrance. so that employees could also ride their bike to work.
This may be too minor a detail for you to address at your level. Do you know that the standard of the bike rack, would it be something like an inverted U to give 2 points of contact and good physical support?
It's generally, we usually use the serpentine bike rack.
Okay.
That's, you can see all over the place now.
On a roll here, outstanding. All right. As a professional pedestrian here, looking at the extreme northeast corner of the lot, there alongside the railroad tracks where you have the detention pond, you mentioned, I believe, reinforced wood fence going along Hook Drive to be the barrier for vehicles. Just with my experience, I'm expecting that to become a goat path, if you will. Have you considered pedestrian access from up in that ways?
We haven't, only, and the primary reason is we don't want to necessarily encourage pedestrian access or whatever to the back of the building. There is, like I said, we have, the sidewalk currently today ends, I believe, on this side of the entrance to the metro station. We are continuing it down and connecting it to the sidewalk that we're going to be installing on Mallard Creek. And while that doesn't prohibit people from finding the goat path, it's not something that we would, besides the, in addition, this is going to be not a two-slope, it's going to be required slope that the village wants, but it's, you know, a 3 to 1, 4 to 1 slope. So really, from a standpoint of people being engaged to come that direction, it's probably not a real good, that's not going to be inviting.
Okay. On the plus side, at least, any pedestrians won't have to go all the way down to the pizza place and then back down and around.
Correct.
Because there were no cut-throughs before or anything like that. Okay, almost done. Will the gas station have a kerosene pump?
It does not.
Okay. And what is the expected lifespan of the new building? I ask because one of the trustees for the village mentioned in talking about the Walmart, it lasted about 25 years. It did well. It was time for it to come down. I don't want to suggest that Meijer would be anything other than a definite value add to the village here, but there's an issue of, you know, longevity and building something with staying power, things that help focus the village identity. Not that this will substitute for a downtown, but can we expect 25 more years, this building, which is, again, just a shell for the stuff?
Right.
It'll be time to come down and be replaced by something else as well.
There should be no reason why this building doesn't last at least 25 years. And part of that is the maintenance that goes into the, you know, maintaining the structure. And again, from a standpoint of Meijer's core values, safety and health is one of those core values, as well as maintaining a competitive edge. And you do not achieve either one of those goals without maintaining the property, because it becomes run down, it becomes less desirable for people to go to. And that's really when you start seeing something of this magnitude not lasting at least 25 years.
I've spent much of the last 10 years traveling between here and Kalamazoo, plus born in Grand Rapids. I'll certainly testify to the Meijer standards. I have no problem from that aspect at all. The last is a thank you just for towing the line on the more current parking lot standards. One of our trademarks here is too much parking, which goes unused and is just wasted potential ROI. So wider spaces and wider laneage, I think, make for a better experience with that for the people who do drive. Thank you.
No problem. Who wants to be back? Lady in blue shirt.
Hello, my name is Susan Boga, that's B-U-G-A.
So just a second. B-U-G-A.
And I live at 29 East Country Walk Drive in Round-Up Beach. I have just an observation. With the truck traffic coming in off of Rollins, and you've got the grocery trucks and the vans and the box trucks, and you've got the fuel trucks. Couldn't that back up traffic along Rollins? Why don't they have just the one entrance in and out? Is that feasible even for the delivery trucks, for the semis?
My understanding of it is Rollins is the road they're going to have to use simply because not only is it the road that can accommodate them, when the Gateway project gets done, the only way to get in from the east, from where the expressway is to come in on Rollins Road as a practical matter.
But they come in Rollins, but then they go down Mallard instead of going in through the entrance to the store.
If they go down Mallard direct, then when they get to where they need to be, they will need to do some rather tricky maneuvers. And I suspect what they'd end up doing is tying up Mallard Creek Drive for a prolonged period of time and creating traffic jams. Whereas if they route around the edge of the parking lot, they can get to the back of the building and be out of the main traffic pattern when they have to do those maneuvers. And of course, if it turns out that there's issues, traffic patterns can be adjusted in the future. It's not something that we don't need to be concerned about, but it's something where we normally defer to the experience of the people putting in the buildings because they've done this before. And for that matter, with the way we're now using Hook Drive, I would not want to see Hook Drive become the main source of truck traffic.
No. If they came down Mallard and there was an entrance where the front of the Meijer store
Yeah.
is, and if they just went, it wouldn't work, they couldn't swing the trucks around this.
Not easily.
Okay. Thank you, I just
Oh, that's a very legitimate question.
appreciate it, thank you.
Anyone else? Project this big and with so few questions. You must have done a very good job with your presentation.
Thank you.
Do you think that a month is a sufficient length of time to work out what you need to work out, or do you want to have longer?
I think a month is fine.
Okay,
Again, just to reiterate, we as soon as we got the comments from Patrick Glenn and Ralph Campbell's office, we went ahead and started making changes on those issues. And I've already got most of the response letter done. So from that standpoint, I see probably making a resubmission within the next week, 10 days at the max, and I doubt very much we'll even go extended to 10 days. And then that will give staff a couple weeks to review and their comments back to us again, and at least be in a position to be able to present what we've changed and even probably address comments that, any remaining comments that there may be.
okay, that being the case, unless staff has an issue with it, I would like a motion to continue this hearing to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Plan Commission, which would be April what?
April 10th.
April 10th.
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second?
That would be Mr. Wallace. Okay, I'll call the roll on this one.
Okay.
Aye.